Joining us on stage from Revolut, lead product designer Margarida Botelho.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Super nice to be here today with all of you. My name is Margarida, but you can call me Mags. I'm a lead product designer at Revolut, and I'm currently leading the banking tribe, which is responsible for some of our core features in the Revolut retail app. So if you're a Revolut customer and you've used your physical and virtual cards, if you sent or received money, if you checked your analytics, there's a very high chance that you used some products that me or my team have personally designed. So I'm also leading expansion, which is another department, and expansion is responsible for making sure that whenever we go into a new market, we are, of course, compliant with the local laws and regulations, but also, and very importantly, that whatever design solutions we come up with are scalable and easy to manage from both a design perspective and a development perspective, which you can imagine is a big challenge. So today I'm going to tell you a little bit about the last 4 years that I spent at Revolut, the hyper growth that I witnessed, and what, in my opinion, makes this design team amazing. So how did it all start? In 2020, 4 years ago, I was working as a freelancer. My life was very calm, very chill, very relaxed. I was working no more than 2 hours a day, which is ridiculous. Now looking back, it's insane. I was getting paid in Bitcoin, which is another topic. Until one day, all of that changed because a recruiter reached out on LinkedIn and asked if I wanted to apply for Revolut. At that point, I'd been a customer for 2 years and I loved the product. So naturally, the imposter syndrome kicked in and I thought I was severely underqualified for the job. But I thought, what the heck, let's give it a try, let's do it anyway. Who knows what could happen? And to my surprise, I was hired as a mid-level product designer when I was 26. So, I started on a Thursday. I had a full day of onboardings, really boring stuff. Stuff like setting up your laptop, mandatory trainings, you all know what I'm talking about. And then the next day, Friday, at the start of the day, I met with the product owner that I would be working with, and also with the team that I would be working with. And in true Revolut style, he gave me my first task right there and then. We talked about it, I asked some questions, and then he said, oh, by the way, you're presenting this next Tuesday to the CEO. My goodness, I almost passed out. I wanted to quit right there and then. And this was the moment where I was introduced to the concept of the product review. So, what is the product review? You may ask. The product review is a weekly meeting that we hold where product designers, no matter their seniority, so graduates, junior, mid, senior, lead, it doesn't matter. Everyone goes and presents their work to our co-founders, senior management, and really anyone in the company that wants to join. So, this is definitely a very public activity, as you can imagine. But quickly, once my emotions settled and the panic stopped, I understood that I started thinking about how much time our co-founders were dedicating to product design. And I realized that probably for the first time in my career, this was a place where I didn't have to convince anyone that delivering a great experience to our customers should be a top priority, that having a strong design language and a strong design system were essential for our success, and that there was no place for design dogma. The best design process is the one that delivers results and not necessarily the one we learn about in school or that the industry says is the best one. Shout out to JP Morgan, I think we're pretty aligned on this one. So all of these things were at the core of Revolut's DNA already when I joined. And design, as I said, is a very public activity in the company, and this is definitely not for the faint of heart. But I quickly realized that, especially as a young designer, this was a place where my work could have a huge impact, and conversely, that this company could have a very big impact in my career as well. So, a lot has changed since I joined. We went from 1,500 employees to 10,000, which is crazy. And also, we went from 10 million customers, which was already impressive, to 50 million. Actually, it's not exactly 50 million. Last time I checked, it was 49.9. We're like almost there. But still, I'm going to say 50 million today. We also received banking licenses in a number of markets and countries around the world, most recently in the UK, which we're very excited about. And our product teams delivered an insane amount of new products and features. However, with all of this growth and this expansion, some things remain exactly the same. So, delivering great experiences is still at the core of everything we do. We still have somewhat small and independent teams that somewhat work like a startup inside the company. And we still have our one-week design sprints and our weekly product reviews. So, why do we do this to ourselves? Are we masochists? Why do we stick to these insanely tight deadlines? So something happens. The reality is that it just works for us. There's something that happens in your brain when someone tells you, you have this super complex task, you have 1 week, figure it out. You're forced to break it down into its logical bits, attack them one by one. And you're forced also to develop confidence in your intuition, your expertise, and you develop confidence in your decision making because you're making so many decisions all the time and getting real input back on those decisions. So this helps people grow really, really fast. However, this is a very fast-paced environment, there's no denying it. And 1 year ago, our design director, Maria Herrera, was here on the stage, and she talked about Rev 10, which was the biggest redesign we did recently. And with her, she brought a survival kit. And today I have a survival kit as well for you. And this is what has helped me survive 4 years of weekly design sprints. So this is very simple, and it only has 3 things: design system, pragmatism, and team. I don't think I need to convince anyone of the importance of having a solid design system in place. When you move as fast as we do, it's very, very important that you are hyper aware of how you spend your time. And for our product teams, we want them to spend the majority of their time thinking about the problem at hand and how they can solve it elegantly. There's definitely a time and place to detach components, and that happens sometimes if you're exploring a new visual direction or a very UI-heavy task. This is very important because it keeps our visual language fresh and always evolving. And we've done the mistake in the past of being too strict about design system, and then we just look and our stuff just looks super outdated, which is not nice either. But as a general rule, we are very, very strict about the usage of our design system. And this helps us guarantee a number of things. So first one is that our design language is super cohesive. Second thing is that we need to spend less time doing QA. And last but not least, again, it speeds up design and development massively. But having a design system is not enough. We also need to enforce it and to have a way to enforce it. So for us, we have a design system team that works on it full time. And our developers cannot merge any changes into production unless they are properly documented on the design system, which sometimes can feel a bit like a pain and it can feel like it slows you down. But at the end of the day and in the long run, it's definitely, definitely worth it. Second item is pragmatism. So I mentioned before that in Revolut, there's no space for design dogma. We care mostly about design impact. So for us, it matters zero if you followed the double diamond approach, if you went from wireframes all the way up to high fidelity, it doesn't matter. What matters to us is, did you ask the right questions? And did you use the right tools to get the answers to those questions? It's very easy to fall prey of bloated design processes when you're a young designer, but also when you're a senior manager, because they give you a sense of safety. And we were talking before about how wireframes are sort of like a lost art and how fun it is to do them and how useful they can be. And again, these tools can be very, very useful when they're used in the right moments and for the right reasons. So, for example, are you going into a new market, you don't understand the competition, you don't know what's up, you don't understand the cultural context, by all means, go deep into that problem, get all of that information, bring it to your team, educate everyone. But if you're doing something that has been done a million times before, keep it simple. You can probably deliver that value to your customers maybe in 1 or 2 days. So, if you're wondering how that first product review went, truth is, I don't really remember. 4 years is a lot of product reviews. Some of them went super well, some of them did not go well. Some of them were controversial, which can also be fun because people are very opinionated about what's going on, and there's like a energy in the room, and it's really nice. And I cannot sit here and say that we do everything in 1 week and that it's perfect. That's not the truth. Truth is that things, sometimes you take them to product review and someone will tell you, this needs love, and you need to go back and you need to present it again next week, and that's all good. What matters is that the team gets into this hyper-pragmatic state of mind and that they practice pragmatism all the time. And that they get better week by week by week, they get better at this art of getting it done. So, last but not least, it's team. When I first started, everything was very overwhelming. The industry was overwhelming, I was very young, my coworkers were very talented and ambitious people, and I admired their work, I still do today. And I mentioned before that we keep our teams small. This is because it makes it easier to build trust. There's nothing worse than being on a call with 10 people discussing some idea that everyone thinks is not that great, and no one says anything. We highly, highly encourage people to give direct, open, and respectful feedback because that helps people grow very fast. But again, it also builds trust. You need to have the courage to say that the idea is bad, but in order to do it, you need to trust that your team will listen, despite of your background or your seniority. So knowing your team will have your back is what gives you the courage to propose that redesign, like Juan did last year with Rev 10. And it's what gives you the confidence to disagree with someone, despite them being higher up than you are. I must admit that I severely underestimated how important this was, but now looking back, I see that my managers did such a good job at creating these moments for the team to connect. And looking back again, I see how this enabled us to deliver great products together. So, if any of this sounds interesting and you want to try it out with your teams or by yourselves, I have some challenges. So, first one, practice pragmatism. Take one complex task and try to solve it in 1 week. See how that goes. Second one is build trust. Challenge yourself to speak up about something that you don't think is going so well. Give direct, open, and respectful feedback. One time this week. Third one, no design dogma. Ask yourself, is your design process adding value at each step? Is there any step that you can cut out? And last but not least, if you can only do one, do this one, which is to take a chance. Apply for that job you think you're underqualified for. You never know where it could take you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Margarida. Let's see which questions do we have in the audience. Who is curious? Yes, please.
Yeah, first off, thank you so much. I think that you really embrace what Revolut, transpires. So thank you so much for that. I'm wondering, I mean, you kind of explained the methodology in which design teams work, but I'm wondering the difference between roles in a design team and how is that, like, I don't know, working at Revolut? Because what I see is a lot of pragmatism. Is that also, I mean, you are a design lead, so I wonder how different are your functions from an individual contributor, like a senior designer or a midweight designer?
Yeah, so it's very different. So now we talked before about how teams can get very siloed, and I think that's definitely something that we encounter at Revolut. So my role now is very much connecting everyone and getting my team connected with other teams. So that's super important. Also, we've grown a lot throughout the years and throughout these 4 years, and we experimented with a bunch of stuff as well. So we are sort of like crazy scientists, especially with processes and the roles that we bring in. So for example, especially in the banking tribe, we started bringing data analysts into the design process from the very beginning, experimented with that, see how that went. So we just test a lot of things, keep what works, ditch what doesn't, and just learn from it.
We have a very highly voted question online asking about the wow effect. So How do you achieve it? Do you use any specific framework? Is it done in this weekly sprint? Is this done over time? So how do you embed this principle into the process?
Yeah, so that's another thing that we've been experimenting with. So how do you incorporate WOW into our weekly design sprints? So recently we started having this core team that only works on these things almost, and they're sort of like a lab that experiments with different effects like that. But also we deliver WOW is a core value of the company itself. So it's just not one team that works on it. It's something that we all try to keep in mind and we all try to do when we are working.
And I think there was also some curious questions about, it's not like that you roll out one feature in a week, or is it? Or how does this work with the one weekly sprints? Maybe you can make it super specific.
Yes, so we have this weekly design sprints, but of course we have huge projects that don't fit in a week. So and that's just impossible to fit in a week. So what we try to do is break the project down into weekly bits, as I usually call them, so that we can show progress and keep the discussion going constantly. As opposed to going off 2 months, not talking to anyone, and then showing. So what we try to do with the weekly design sprints is not necessarily deliver every week, but to keep the discussion open and to bring everyone that needs to be included in the discussion.
Yeah, I think that clears it up a lot. Super. Anybody else in the room? All right, then I think we go to a well-deserved break. Thank you so much, Margarida. Thank you.